We're going to have about a 15-minute delay, and we'll get started here with the pig show. So our judges here, the exhibitors are getting ready, and we'll be starting here just a short delay. We apologize. Thank you.
The 2022 Montgomery County Swine Show. We are on about a 10-minute delay, 15-minute delay, so just letting everybody know that. Programs are available on most of the bleachers on the first row if you are interested in that. We're ready to start the 2022 Montgomery County Fair Swine Show. Our superintendents are Andy Vile and Mike Olson. Thank you to them for their hard work. Our judge today is Dr. Brett Kaysen from St. Charles, Iowa. And we will call our first class of market barrows. Class 1 market barrows to the ring. Will Pollock, Kayla Mitchell, Will Pollock, Casey Johnson, and Allie Sandin. Again, calling our first class to the ring. Again, just beginning our 2022 Montgomery County Swine Show, Class 1 Market Barrows.
Well, good morning. It's certainly a pleasure to be with you here, sorting your county fair for the second year in a row, and certainly enjoyed last year as I spent my time with you, and I appreciate the invite to come back. Some of you that were here last year may remember I brought my two daughters to help me sort both the hog show and then showmanship, but they tapped out this morning. We've actually got our county fair tomorrow, so they're doing what these young people are doing back in Madison County and tending to pigs in the barn. And so look forward to the day. We've got a beautiful warning in terms of weather and certainly a great group of young people. For you spectators and those watching live stream online, we've moved into the market barra division and starting out here with a lightweight class and 5-head in this particular class. And my introductory comments would tell you, as you study the biological type of all 5 barras in this particular class, I couldn't describe more differences amongst types and kinds in this initial drive. And so depending on what you prefer and what your breeding project you want to project, I think there's something in here for everybody. But I'll also be very honest and open with you. As a show judge, it's really challenging to say, well, there's not one that really just hits me hard and say, okay, at the end of the day, it's the one that has the most totals, as I like to say, or the most complete. That's how I land on this calico-colored barra here to win the class. And quite simply, folks, as you study him from the ground up, I see him, he's easily the most agile and athletic in terms of his move. In terms of balance, I understand he's not perfect, but he's the most nearly balanced, in my opinion, as you study him from the side. As you read him from the top side of his skeleton and see how he hooks up into his loin and take him out through his hip, that one's designed right in terms of the way the parts and pieces fit together. I think the young lady's done a nice job of putting some skin and hair conditioning in this one, and no, that's not the primary evaluation tool, but to me that's part of the equation because it is a show pig division and it's just not a market hog show where we're putting them across the scale. This one, if we could change him, there's no question. For those you that raise show pigs, you were going to say, well, Brett, he needs to be bigger footed. You need to see him more powerful through his sternum. Those things are all true. But I think in terms of muscle, the correct amount of leanness that he's got on the top side and underneath and brings some balance and actually some athleticism on both sides of the skeleton, I land on that one to win. If you bring the one out that comes in 2, when the one that came out in 2, I thought, well, here's one we might be able to land on because a lot of you folks that understand livestock will say, well, Brett, there's the good one in front of his blade. He's the one that's really tight about his jaw. He's really extended about his front. There's no question this class of barras, he reads the leanest and the freest of fat down the top side of his skeleton, and this one's got more foot size and bone from that perspective than my class winner. But as you evaluate him further and you start to get into him, you're like, well, but that guy runs a little bit off in terms of his hip. If you study him at his ham-loin junction, he gets a little bit tighter in his forerib, and he just doesn't look as consistent down his top in terms of the bulge and the shape and the dimension that I'd like to see. He's more shapely and square. That guy just needs more to his center body from my perspective. The one that comes in third is definitely not an issue there in terms of the amount of stoutness in center body. That one's got it, really deep in its flank and really shapely and robust in its cage. A stouter headed, stouter featured one, then I put you in second. And this one's got tons of product. There's no question when you just get behind him and you said, okay, I'm just going to use the biggest hipped one in class and never turn back. That's that one. So if you like them really big hipped and stout that way, feel free to tie into this one. As I study this guy more, and obviously a little bit of a challenging surface to evaluate today, this guy's too far outside of his skeleton meat for me behind. He's really wide base, but as you can see, he really sets him on the corner, doesn't set and plant and drive. And you can actually see him to see somewhat bowed in his hock, and he's got some puffiness in his left rear hock, like to clean him up and make him more agile. The one that's coming now in 4 is one that I think fundamentally, as you study him, you're like, this is one we can live with in terms of just his overall carcass merit. But the more you study this one relative to the class, he gets plainer down his top, and I don't see him just quite as attractive in the side view profile as some that we had above. And the young man that's going to come to you in 5 here, one that looks like he's been a good growing pig for the young man, got some depth, got some shape. But I think when you talk about just pure carcass composition, that one's the plainest down his top and reads with the least meat animal product in the class. Put your hands together for all these young people. Nice drive here to start the day.
Class 2 barrows, Class 2 market barrows to the ring, please. Kennedy DeVries, Will Pollock, Kennedy DeVries, and Leah Sandin. Results of our market barrow Class 1, we have 5th place in a blue to Will Pollock, 4th place in a blue to Will Pollock, 3rd place in a blue to Allie Sandin, 2nd place in a blue to Casey Johnson, and our champion for that class was Kayla Mitchell. Congratulations, Kayla. Again, Class 2, market barrows to the ring, please.
Put your hands together for all these exhibitors here in Class 2. Nice set of bears. You know, it never fails. I've been doing this a long time, and I think I judged my first hog show when I was 16, and I'm closer to 50 now. And so you see a lot, you travel a lot, and it never fails. You're like, boy, I wish I had one of those in another class, right, to spread the wealth out a little bit. So congratulations, certainly a trio of bears here that we can appreciate throughout the class. But as we talk about just getting into the totals and complete, I land on this belted hog awfully quickly for me. And first of all, young lady, I'd commend you and your family on a job well done in terms of your presentation ability of the bear and your presentation ability to be able to feed him and fit him and the skin and hair conditioning that you put into that. I say that, folks, because I understand the work and the hard effort and the energy it takes to do that. And so it may look easy to you today as a spectator as you watch the young lady work the ring, but what you don't see is the blood, sweat, and obviously tears as well behind the scenes at home to make that happen. Enough of that. Let's talk about the pig as he is. So as you get to study him, and those of you that are maybe novice in your ability to judge livestock, no matter what species, or if you're breeders, you're ringside, and you're seasoned experts, I just ask you to read this one with me. And to me, as you start to evaluate him towards the rest of the class, even though it's a market barra drive, this one, no question, is the most agile and the most comfortable on the front side and back side of his skeleton. Now, I'm not going to tell you he's perfect on his rear leg placement and how he drives, but he is the most athletic in the squarest built. The other thing about this one is if you just study him on a side view and say, okay, picture of a silhouette of a balanced market hog, this guy strikes those pinpoints for me if you're just going to go to the whiteboard and say, how does his head read in terms of maturity and freshness? How does his chest tie into his scapula and then down to his forerib, into his rear flank, and out through the base of his ham? And he reads really good from a balanced perspective. But you got to say, well, Brett, don't get caught up in that. Does he have the totals in terms of the fundamentals of muscle content, both on the top side and as you get him from behind? And I think his bone work, his foot mass, his bigness atop, and his boldness of hip all fit to portray that image of importance. I also think, and I always ask as you get into these heavier weight classes, what's the weight range of the hogs? And doing this for quite a while, I understand as you get in these heavier market hog classes, sometimes the weight of the pig and the age of the pig don't match. And I know some people say, oh, Brett, be careful because you don't have birth dates. But my experience tells me this one looks fresh in his body, he looks youthful in his face, and he looks like a bear that fits his weight and fits his age. And I think that's a deciding factor for me. The young lady that's coming out in second here, again, one that when it first came out, I thought, wow, we can use this one. I think maybe she was the first one out of the gate, and I thought, well, we've got a place to land. The thing that I really like about this particular bear, and even over your class winner, if you're into those really stout-bodied, stout-centered hogs that have natural shape right out of the top of their loin and take it to the base of their sheath, this guy's as square in his rib cage as you can make one. There's no question he has tons of product in him as you study him from a three-quarter view and watch him go. He's one, and you get on the top side of him, he opens up with not only some dimension to his top, but he also has some shape and some expression of muscle. As a young lady turns the corner and you get him on the side view, there's a deep-jawed, stout-headed pig that's big and is bold in his shoulder. His rear leg has got plenty of bone there from that perspective, and so one that you can appreciate, and that's why he's in that 2 spot. Well, Brett, if you like him so well, why didn't you use him? If you start to nitpick him on him a little bit, if you read him at the base of his chest and then you come down into his knee and his front feet, he's not as true and as square there as he comes right at you. He's one, when you get behind him, you'll notice that he's not as square and as wide on his rear too as he goes. And he's one, to me, as I study him further, gets a little bit plainer about his head. He's not quite as fresh in his total overall body look, and one that's got some swelling back in his rear flank there, and you like to change that about him. But an awfully nice barrow young lady that you bring to the county fair. The pig that's going to come to you, the one that's coming to you in third here is one that as you first study, you're like, whoa, there's one that's up in the air. And what do I mean by that? When you study him at his toes and you take him to the top of his blade, this guy's awfully elevated, and I like that about him. For those of you that are enamored and like to make hogs that are big-footed and heavy-boned, this one struck you really, really hard, and I think that guy's probably as big-legged as any of the trio we've discussed so far. Plenty of muscle in this one for me. He's one that I've got to get into third for two main reasons. As you get to study him ahead of his blade and you start to read him his maturity in his cage, he's one that looks like someone sat on for a while. He's one that looks like a little bit older than maybe he needs to be for this particular drive, for this particular show. And then when you start to evaluate him from a balance perspective and you see where that blue and white line is on his ham loin, you take him to the base of his tail, he'll get a little bit shorter and steeper out of his rump. He wants to rise up in his spine and doesn't portray that picture of balance and symmetry and athleticism that our class winner does. But big-legged, big-footed, plenty of muscle. Need to see that one fresher with more center body and more natural balance to get him any higher. Then the young man that comes here in the fourth position does a nice job. I appreciate the length of body in his particular barrow. The young man does a nice job of bringing one that's elevated in terms of its skeleton, probably the longest-sided pig of the particular class. Young man, we just need to see that one with more total muscle content to get you any higher in this particular drive. Put your hands together for those young people. They did a really nice job.
We'll call our results of Class 2 market barrows. Fourth and a blue to Will Pollock. Third and a blue to Kennedy DeVries. Second and a blue to Leah Sandin, and champion of that class, Kennedy DeVries, with hog 4, 3, 2, 1, and receiving a purple. Now we'll have our selection of champion market barrow and reserve champion market barrow. Our champion market barrow will receive an award sponsored by Gary and Rhonda Hartstack.
Folks, if you'll put your hands together for these two young exhibitors out here driving for champion market barrow honors, representing Class 1 and Class 2. We'll pick your champion, and then whoever was second in that class, we'll let them drive here in a moment. Again, we talked about the pig here to my right in class, wins its particular division, and then just spent a lot of time talking about the belted barrow that's out in center stage. But as you get the two together, quite frankly, there's one that suits me real well. He's one I'd like to square up on his front feet if I could tweak him just a little bit, but that's being rather critical of your champion market barrow here at the county fair. Congratulations, young lady. Good job.
Again, congratulations to Kennedy DeVries with her champion market barrow from Class 2. We'll now bring out our second place winner in Class 2 for the reserve champion market barrow drive and selection.
Again, here driving for reserve, the young lady that comes out of Class 2 that was second behind your champion. Like that barrow from the start to the time you hit the ring, and so congratulations to you, young lady. You'll have the reserve that was second in that heavyweight class. Good job.
Congratulations, Leah Sandin. So again, we have our champion market barrow awarded to Kennedy DeVries and our reserve champion market barrow awarded to Leah Sandin. We will bring out our market gilts, Class 1, only class. Class 1, we have Casey Johnson with 2 and Laney DeVries. since we only have 3 gilts, when you place them, are we just going to call them? Okay,
Yep.
that's what I figured.
Yep, you got it. You got it.
We like to keep them moving.
Yeah, good job. It's tough for that hot coffee.
Everybody does it a little bit differently, so I like to have the judge tell me.
Yeah.
And again, calling our market gilt class, Casey Johnson with 2 gilts and Lainey DeVries. Because this is our only class of gilts today, as the judge selects and places them after their drive, then first place will receive our champion market gilt, and second will receive our reserve champion market gilt. Our champion market gilt will receive an award sponsored by Olson Farms, Kyle Olson.
Well, here as we drive into your one and only class of your market gilt division, I'll change up the show ring mechanics for you here briefly, since we've just got the trio, and then as your announcer did such a great job of talking when we place this class, we're also driving for Champion Reserve Market Gilt Honors. Congratulations, the young man in third position, to his and family. He's driving the predominantly white pig here that's against the rail at this point in time. And if you just start to say, okay, well, talk about market hog fundamentals, this one hits probably several of you pretty hard, because in terms of total body leanness, this one may express the most leanness down its top and at its 10th and last. And then when you get on the undercarriage of that one and say, okay, how's that one read through its lower 1/3? Certainly very raw and bare and free of fat. And so good job from that perspective, young man. I think the challenge becomes in this particular gilt is, can she balance and be stout enough and sound enough to get any higher than that third position? I think that was the decision between third and second. The young man that's in 2 will be driving the level-eared belted gilt out here. And here's one that when it first comes off the concrete and you watch it enter the ring, sure, it gets a little stiltier in its front scapula and shoulder for sure, but one that's still got enough body for me to be good enough to be in second, got enough product. That one just needs to be more powerful and opened up and redesigned from a balance perspective, but it's also doing the rodeo spin for you here at the county fair. So, young man, you might need to charge for that later. So he's in second. Easy class winner, actually reserve champion there. Congratulations, young man. Easy class winner and champion gilt that's driving in front of me now. She's won as soon as she comes out of the holding ring. If you think about what I've been talking to you about in terms of the fundamentals so far, that's the well-balanced, well-designed gilt in class that brings enough youthfulness of look up front of her blade and still has the right amount of muscle content down her top and from behind. She's one young lady, I guess, as we all try to get better every day, both in our personal and professional life. I guess on that one, I would just like to see you take that hair coat just a little bit tighter and break that hair, because that gilt has a lot of quality. Congratulations to you and your family. She wins the market hog division on the gilt side. Good job.
Okay, congratulations. Our champion market gilt awarded to Lainey DeVries, and our reserve champion market gilt to Casey Johnson. Again, a round of applause for those exhibitors. We'll move into our grand champion market hog and reserve grand champion market hog selection.
Make a lot of noise for these two young people here as we drive for overall champion honors. Just a quick, show there with two class of barras and one class of gilts, but hopefully as you compare your champion gilt and the market side with the barra, you'll see some similarities in the type and kind that I like. But before we pick your champion, I guess, I would recognize both of these young ladies and say if I'm a young and up-and-coming 4-H or FFA exhibitor or even an experienced seasoned veteran in your county, one of the things I tend to see in my travels, and have been, I guess, getting old and doing this for a long time, is sometimes folks will be on the outside looking in and say, well, how did they do that? Or how did they get to this point? Or, I wonder why they're in the championship drive. And the best way to figure that out is to approach them and ask them. Okay? And so sometimes we sit back and say, well, how does this work? Or what difference did they make to get to this level? And what I found is, no matter in your personal life or professional life, if you see someone that's successful at whatever it may be, the first step is to approach them, introduce yourself, and say, I can use your coaching and mentorship. Would you help me? And 99% of the time, they'll be willing to help you. And so my lesson here in this champion drive is reach out to these leaders, talk about selection, talk about feeding, talk about fitting, talk about showing. I know I've got two young daughters at home, and I'm the dad, so I don't know much. And I understand that, so I step back, but I rely on my network of people to help mentor them. And so that's part of this too, folks, is yeah, it's fun to drive them. Yeah, it's fun to win, but it's all about the people business. And so, young ladies, I'd ask that you lead your county and see if we can just elevate, the quality, both of showmanship and feeding ability, as well as the kinds of animals we drive. That being said, I've said enough about this one, but I still think you can drive a lot of miles and go to a lot of county fairs and be hard-pressed to find one this good. Congratulations, young lady. I really like your barra. That's a nice specimen.
Congratulations to Kennedy DeVries, winning Grand Champion Market Hog. We will now bring out our reserve, second in that class for selection. I'd like to say or ask that the audience give a round of applause to Dr. Brett Kaysen. I appreciate all of his education and commentary to the youth. We all know this is a learning opportunity.
As we select for reserve here, obviously the barra that was second in class to your champion comes out and drives for the competition. And you step back and read the pigs again, and I just ask you whether you're not, like I said, if you're early in your livestock evaluation career or late, hopefully those trio that we have out here, you could see kind of what I'm looking for in my eyes of what I think is fundamentally correct. As you evaluate the two, I like the gilt quite a bit, but as you get into it and say, but which is the one that's most like, Brett, the stoutness and power, and what I think is more current in terms of where we're at today from a show pig perspective. Congratulations to the young lady that had the barra that was second in the champion. You'll be a reserve overall in the show. Good job. Nice work.
Okay, congratulations to Leah Sandin. We'll bring our Derby Barrow with Rate of Gain stickers, Class 1, Derby Barrow with Derby Barrow Class 1 out to the ring. Leah Sandin will receive an award sponsored by Fairway for her earning overall reserve grand champion Market Hog. Thank you to Fairway. And Kennedy DeVries for overall grand champion Market Hog will receive an award sponsored by Bank Iowa. Continue to thank our sponsors for all of their dedication and commitment to our youth in the community. In our Derby Barrow Class 1 only class today, we have Casey Johnson, Leah Sandin, Will Pollock, Lainey DeVries, and Kennedy DeVries. Again, Derby Barrow class.
No. Rate of gain. I'm not doing okay. What helpers? He's sick. He texted me. Cole could not make it today.
Hey, you got super easy.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us at the 2022 Montgomery County Swine Show, we are in our judging our Derby Barrow class. We still have programs available on some of the bleacher benches if you would like one of those.
Let's give all these young people a big round of applause competing in your Derby division. Really great set of young people and nice set of hogs here. And for those of you that are here at the county fair or watching online and talk about the Derby division, you got to talk about evaluating the livestock that you see in front of you, but also think about the rate of gain component to the formula that best equates, you know, the way you line them up. With that being said, I'm going to start with the young lady here that's farthest from me here, driving at me straight to win this particular class and ends up being champion of the Derby division. When I put all the totals together and I just stick to the carcass composition first and foremost, this one strikes me as the best one in class. And this one's truer, especially the one that's going to come in reserve in terms of its top shape. One that to me still has more of a predominant groove and flare to the edge of that longissimus dorsi muscle, and one that still has some bone work and foot size and enough look and balance to be called a show pig as well. Now, I understand he's not good enough on his hind leg. You know, he really gets punchy as he goes from behind and wants to get a little tighter in the top side of his hip. But when you think about muscularity, leanness, look from the side, depth of shape of body, and then overall ADG, he's the one that I come to. The one that's in second or be reserved in the division, young lady, his ADG is outstanding, and he reads to be that type of a hog. What do you mean by that, Brett? Folks, my experience tells me whether these hogs are on a 2,400 head finisher in the slatted floor or they're at home as your show bearers, they've got to be stout and opened up in their center body and dimensionally wide and stout in their head to grow. This one's obviously grown, not a problem there. This one has plenty of content when you get right in behind this guy. He is the biggest hipped of the particular drive. My challenge with him is I evaluate him further, study him right behind his blade, get at his 10th rib, study him down the top side of his skeleton. He gets a little plainer in his shape, not as authentic there in terms of the composition that he carries. He's a little shorter in his overall pattern, not as neat out in front of his blade, but average daily gain, stoutness, and power, that one leads to that second position really quickly. The young lady that's going to come to you in third is one that I think in terms of leanness has an advantage than some in this particular drive. You actually set that bear into motion. You can see the outline of the blade a little bit better than the bear that I put you in second. The challenge becomes with this particular bear is he just needs to be redesigned to me from a hip and hind leg perspective. He'll want to get his rear feet together. He's not quite as comfortable on the drive as he goes, but I thought fit in that third position pretty well in terms of the growth pattern, depth of body, and stoutness. Just need to redesign that one from a balance and a structure perspective. Young man that's going to come in fourth position, nice conversation I had with him. I said, "What'd you do to your arm?" He said, "Oh, I broke my wrist." And I said, "Well, what were you doing, fighting with your sister?" He said, "No, he was playing football." So I think we're okay. This young man's fourth place bear has the advantage in the class in terms of total body leanness. If you just want to use composition as your selection criteria, this one's no question the freest of fat anywhere in terms of its overall skeleton, and one that's extended in front of its blade and actually has some base width when you get behind this particular bear. But the problem becomes for me is he just looks like a slower growing kind that's too tight in his rib, simply just needs more, to be honest, fat and body and stoutness to move any higher. Finally, the young man here in the fifth position at 1.65 ADG. Certainly a joy to visit with this young guy. I said, "Hey, do you play football?" And he said, "No, but I'm going to start." And so my next question to him was, "Well, what position are you going to play?" He said, "I'm going to be a linebacker." I said, "I think that's a good idea." And so great young man to visit with, certainly passionate and having fun with this product. I like the length of body his particular bear brings to the class today. He's just one in terms of composition. When you check the muscle and leanness box, he's deficient there relative to some of the competitors. Put your hands together for all these Derby exhibitors.
Ribbon.
Okay, Will Pollock receiving a blue for that class. Casey Johnson a blue for that class. Leah Sandin a blue for that class. Second place and reserve champion Derby Barrow to Kennedy DeVries, and champion of that class Lainey DeVries. Congratulations again. We'll bring out our Derby gilts. We have two in this class, Kayla Mitchell and Allie Sandin. Again, Kayla Mitchell and Allie Sandin. Our champion Derby Barrow will receive, awarded to Lainey DeVries, will receive an award sponsored by Red Oak Rotary Club. And again, thank you to our sponsors.
For you spectators, what we're evaluating now is your class of Derby gilts, just the two particular entries here. The champion gilt on the Derby side, and your class winner will be the young lady that drives the spot appearing gilt. Young lady, congratulations to you and your family. You bring one that I think is big in its bone work and stout in its feature, super big bodied, has some depth of flank, and actually excels in terms of average daily gain as well. This